Welcome to episode 96 of Sketching Up. Chris Schnabel here with a special guest. There's actually none of the boys here with me, the usual boys, I should say, but I do have my boy here with me today, Joe Brown. You probably know him from Sketching Up old episodes or other things we've done. But we're going to talk a little bit about his new podcast, the OHKO podcast. So it's OHKO podcast, or is it OHKO, a Pokemon VGC podcast? What is the official name?
OHKO podcast is the name of it, and then we just have in another note, it is a Pokemon VGC podcast, just so people know what it is. It stands for One Hit KO, which is a type of Pokemon attack, or whatever. Boxing, you can use that term. Also, other things have used OHKO before, but yeah.
There you go. So the Vocal podcast, and you can find that wherever you get podcasts. But we'll talk about that a little bit in a second. Before we get into that, make sure you follow us on social media. We have our own social media, Sketching Up Podcast on Instagram, or you can find us anywhere on any social media, Schnabel Studios. You can also find all of our other podcasts, such as Mad Props, Southern Hospitality. You can find Offstage there. Anything we do, you can find Schnabel Studios on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. You can also find us anywhere you get podcasts. Search Schnabel Studios or search Sketching Up, and you'll find it anywhere you go. All right, let's roll the intros and get into the show. So we have Joe Brown with us today. Joe has just been so gracious to join us again. He's been on many of these. He's been here probably since almost the beginning of Sketching Up. You had to be one of the first guests we ever had, I imagine, right?
Yeah, I think it's been a number of times I've been on. I've been on a lot of Schnabel projects over the years. I've known you for a long time. I think actually, I guess it's over a decade now, right? What was our sophomore year of college? What year would that have
2014.
been?
So
14?
Next year.
What? No way. That wasn't our sophomore year.
Yeah, I guess 13, 14.
Yeah.
Or 13,
so it's been
14,
I've known you for
14,
a decade at this point.
Yeah.
We have a good rapport with each other.
We do. You actually have, speaking of Mad Props in the beginning segment, you have one of my most successful YouTube iterations of Mad Props, right up there with Darren Nefsey, the creator of Star vs. the Forces of Evil. Then Joe Brown has, about across all platforms, a couple thousand views because he just put his name on something and people flock to it. That's how it goes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll play along.
But Joe's here today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Nintendo Direct that just came out recently, some of the games that were on there. It's pretty exciting. He's going to talk a little bit about his podcast as well. We talked about the name of it and stuff like that, but I'm going to let him take over for a second, kind of talk about the podcast, talk about what they talk about. And then I, as an avid listener, I'm going to ask some questions.
Yeah, for sure. So I am one of the co-hosts of the OHKO podcast, a Pokemon VGC podcast. For anyone who doesn't know, I work as a competitive Pokemon commentator for the official streams for the Pokemon Company on Twitch and YouTube. If you're watching regional tournaments, international championships, world championships, those streams that the Pokemon Company produces, I'm one of the many cast of commentators for it. And my co-host, Sierra Dawn, she is another commentator for Pokemon for the video games. So we're talking about Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield before that, all the things that are on the Switch. And so what we wanted to do, Sierra and I, we have a lot of fun when we're on commentary together, having a lot of banter, killing time. So hey, we could do this. We could have conversations every week about Pokemon, about competitive Pokemon and the metagame and everything like that. Doing recaps of tournaments and predictions for future events and things like that. And we have a lot of fun together, Sierra and I, talking about Pokemon and being somewhat casual in some senses, some of our conversations, but also I think we have a good niche as official Pokemon commentators that really cover the game very well, but also are entertaining and fun and don't take ourselves too seriously during our conversations.
So how did you guys come up with the project in the first place? Is it something that you were thinking about for a long time and then you decided to finally do it? Or did you guys just get together and say, we should start a podcast?
So the funny thing, we actually did for a while, a long time ago. I know we're only about 5 or 6 episodes in at this point, but a long time ago, at least, I don't know, 5-6 months ago, we did start the planning process. And we were like, what can we do? How can we name this? Who can we involve? Should it be every week? Should it be every 2 weeks? We went through all logo designs and just the whole process, and it was kind of shelved for a bit as we were trying to figure everything out, and the craziness of the Pokemon regional circuit and traveling to different places and things. So it was this summer we had a conversation with some of our producers and some of our bosses that we interact with, and they're like, we were talking to them about it. They're like, you two would be really good at a podcast. Like, you should, excuse me, like, you'd be really entertaining and you'd have, it'd be really fun to listen to. And we kind of saw that as a sign. I was like, even Pikachu thinks that we should make a podcast, right? Because that's what our producers were saying. So once that happened at the end of June, all of July, we started planning and just going over names and going back and forth and everything. And it was right at the beginning of August. So it was really about a month of prep was when we first made our first episode right before we left for Japan for the World Championships. And we've been, ever since we came back from Japan, we have so far, fingers crossed, been going strong of releasing every single week. So.
Yeah, and August 3rd was your first episode. So what were some potential names of the podcast, and why did you decide on the OHKO podcast at the end?
Oof. I can't even remember some of the other names. Like, I don't know if we, in our first planning stage back in the spring, I don't know if we ever got that far on names. Like our group, we were the cool podcasters when we were trying to figure it out, which is not a great podcast name. We understand.
What?
So the significance behind OHKO, so it is a type, a one-hit KO is a specific type of attack in Pokemon that is, if anyone has ever played Pokemon, not even just competitive, just playing before, Sheer Cold and Fissure and Guillotine. These are all 30% accurate moves that are very inaccurate, not very likely to connect, but if they connect onto the opposing Pokemon, it is a guaranteed one-hit KO. So it is incredibly high risk, high reward scenarios, and they're not very common and competitive. However, this year in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, these OHKO moves started really picking up more in popularity, where it was kind of a fad in over the spring and a little bit into the summer for a lot of people to take these Pokemon to official tournaments and running these one-hit KO attacks on them. And so we were like, I think at one point I had a conversation on stream with one of our friends, Jake Muller, and how it's like, when we work together, we're like an OHKO, nothing but hits, and that was kind of the inspiration behind it. So we thought our podcast would be nothing but hits every episode, and it would be, a lot of fun stuff like that. So that's the origin of it, and we're still kind of working on it, right? We're still working on a logo. It's a to be determined, kind of a mock template at this point of currently what we have. I'm sure down the road we'll fix it up and make it prettier, but yeah, we tried to incorporate some of those, the Fissure, which is a ground attack. We tried to incorporate that a little bit in our logo. Maybe down the road it'll be a little bit better, but yeah, there's a lot of intent behind the name.
And for people that haven't listened, you can find it anywhere you get your podcast, and it looks like Thursdays is the release date, right?
Yep, Thursdays at noon. It goes on YouTube as well. And make sure if you do listen, you can leave a comment. And we always do a question of the day for each episode. We try to answer at the end of each episode.
There you go. So you can find it. So if we're looking on YouTube, we're going to look up OHKO Podcast, or is it under a different name?
Yep, should be OHKO Podcast. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and we try to post some social clips every week of some of the best moments in that episode, and unfortunately, a lot of those best moments are at my mess ups in some moments, but they're funny. Yeah,
they go at your expense, so you can find the OHKO podcast. I'm a big Joe Brown fan, big supporter. So I've been listening to the OHKO podcast. But if
Thank
you
you.
haven't, you could definitely check it out. They run about 2 hours, but you can find a lot of VGC. You'll get the previews of upcoming events, the results of those. I know you did the Pittsburgh one recently, but you get the preview. You get the results after that, any news or anything that comes out like that. So it's definitely good to check out. And you can also hear about their trip to Japan, but you don't have to because we're going to talk a little bit about that. So you can hit it
Okay.
right here. Maybe we won't go super in depth so people can go listen
No, you're
and
all good.
and,
Ask
and
anything. Yeah.
find out. But I want to know. I mean, so for anyone that doesn't know, Joe went over to Japan for Worlds. He worked with the productions out there. What was that, about a month ago now, and I mean, it looked like a good time. I actually haven't really talked to you that much about this, so this is all going to be new to me. So I don't have
Yeah.
any. Remember when you told me this things? So just tell us a little bit. Like, what was it like to be in Japan? It was in the city that is the original town. Let me think of this. See if I can get this right. It was in the city at the original town in Pokemon Blue, Red, Yellow, all that. Like that's what it was based on. Correct? That's where
Yeah.
they held it.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, like those first couple of generations in Pokemon were based off of real life Japanese regions. And the one that is literally a one for one is the Kanto region. There is a region in Japan called Kanto, which has, Tokyo and a lot of the big cities that you would know of. So we were in the city Yokohama, which is kind of a sub city of Tokyo, right on the outside of it, maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes, half hour, let's say half hour away from Tokyo. And the way that they introduced or revealed that we were going to Japan was in London the previous year at the World Championships. They always tell you at the end of at the closing ceremony where you're going the next year. And how they had it was they had a video of Pokemon Red and Blue and, Red walking around the city. And it was I'm blanking on the name of the city right now, but the one with the big mall in it, if you remember, with like the 5 stories of different items that you can buy. It was one of the gym towns as well, right?
Okay.
And so you're walking in that town as Red, and he walks into the store, and it goes to black, and then it shows Yokohama, which is what it's like based off of. It's a lot of corporate, a lot of businesses, a lot of things going on in the Kanto region. So that was essentially, they showed us like, we are going to the real life origin of the first Pokemon location, which was just like super amazing to be a part of.
So I know there was a lot of trouble. If you listen to his podcast, there was a lot of trouble getting into some of these events out there. What were you able to get into? What were you able to do out there? Tell us a little bit about that amazing process they have out there in Japan for these events.
Yeah, for sure. So I think what's really interesting with Japan is they're really into lotteries, and they're really into RNG and winning and standing in lines. Also, sometimes it's just really big into standing in lines to get into places. So for some of the Pokemon related events, they had at the dock, because we were on the water, Yokohama Bay. They had a big cruise ship, and it was all set up like the SS Anne, and you walked on at the SS Anne, and there was like the garbage can with the director when you get up to the top and stuff like that, like just like the games. So that was like one of the attractions. They also had these Lapras.
For anyone that doesn't know, by the way, the SSN was in Pokemon. Some people that may not realize that was, you go onto that ship in Pokemon. It's like one of the worlds that you go through. So continue.
Yeah. And then there was a like a Lapras boat ride that was like, it was steamed, it like literally shaped and themed like a Lapras, and it was a little pedal boat, I believe, and you could go out in the water and stuff. I missed out on those things because I was a late addition to the production. So a lot of those things, because the lottery system, they start really early, like months and months in advance. So a lot of stuff, like when we wanted to go to Japan, we wanted to visit Studio Ghibli, right? Like, oh, that'd be so cool seeing getting a tour of Studio Ghibli. And it was like, okay, well, if you want to go in August, you have to try to win the lottery in Japan or in June or July for that month. And then like, oh, what if there's this like there's this park, there's this Ghibli park that would be really cool to see. It's like, well, if you want to go to there in August, you have to participate in the lottery in April to win the tickets there to go in August. So like some of those things we kind of missed the boat on since I was a late addition. But I would say the most fun I had was in Osaka, which was the first city we went to before the World Championship. Stayed there for 5 days in Dotonbori, and it was like right on the water, right on there was a lot of food, there was a lot of culture, like everything was really nice and clean, all the people were nice. That was probably like my favorite aspect of the whole. I was there for 2 weeks in Japan. I would say the Osaka trips, like going to arcades and playing like old Street Fighter 3, arcade cabinets that have been in Japan for 25 years or whatever. Like those are some really cool experiences.
That's amazing. So the overall experience was good, even though the lottery let you guys down.
For sure. Yeah.
That's
it's like,
good.
It is what it is. Like I said, I was brought on late, so if I had known earlier, I could have tried to enter some of those lotteries. But by the time I had come on, all those lottery tickets had already been like handed out.
Now, the other question is, how was Worlds? How was being there for that? How was it set up? Did it look beautiful? Tell us about Worlds.
Worlds was awesome. So there was actually a lot of hype, as this was the first time we ever had the World Championships for Pokemon in Japan. So obviously, as the birthplace, as the homeland of Pokemon, it's actually a gigantic deal, not just for Pokemon players, but for even Japanese natives. Like I know we had waiters that we talked to that we said, "Oh, we're here for Pokemon." They're like, "Oh, I'm going on Sunday." Like just a waiter, like not a competitive Pokemon player at all. They just want to participate and be there and support Pokemon and support Japan and stuff. So there was a lot of expectations for this event, and I think. From like a visual standpoint, a lot of it lived up to that. When you saw the stage, they had like Mount Fuji or like a version of it in the background and all these tents and things that were really awesome. The opening ceremony, I don't know if you saw, but it had this awesome drum sequence from this drumming group for like 10 minutes where they're just going in and a dude breaks out a bamboo stick and he's just hammering away at this drum and just jaws dropped watching it backstage. It was so intense and so cool. So I think like the aesthetics and the visuals and everything of it. And then of course all the Pikachu paraphernalia of Pikachu, eating ramen and Pikachu doing all these other things with the different plushes like Fuecoco eating sushi and all those like Japanese inspired merchandise opportunities were really fun too.
So was it like not only was Worlds there, but was it almost like a Pokemon festival, you would say?
For
like
sure.
There was different booths, there was different events, were there like anybody that came as an artist or a speaker or anything like that kind of let you do things outside of watching the competitive VGC?
So yeah, it's almost the World Championships they're kind of just like a Pokemon extravaganza, right? It is for the competitors. Like people spend the entire year trying to earn enough championship points to qualify to go to the event and participate in the World Championships against literally the best players on the planet. But it's so much more than that because there are people that go as spectators and people go to support their friends and people that go just to experience the World Championships every year. So there's a lot of stuff in the town, like I said, like the SSN and the Lapras rides and even different hotels and train stations and restaurants and everything were all Pokemon themed with their visuals and with their food options. So it's the World Championships have kind of morphed more into it because, like, let's say, for example, in VGC, that's just one of the games. We had four games there: the video game, the trading card game, Pokemon Unite, and then Pokemon Go also. So we had 4 games for the World Championships. Just VGC, there's about 300 to 400 maybe. I could be a little bit off. Let's say 400 qualified players in the Masters division, which is the biggest division for the video games. That's only like 400 for just that game, but there was like over 10,000 people there. So you obviously have more in TCG and more in Go and more in Unite, but a lot of those are as spectators and there's a lot of seats to watch every day and stuff. So it's there are people that get excited to go as spectators just as much as the competitors go to compete.
I mean, yeah, I went to the Hartford regional It was it was a smaller one, but it was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of stuff you got to do, and different challenges and games you got to do and stuff, and that was really fun. But thank you for telling us about that. Definitely check out your local regional whenever it comes by, because they're a lot of fun. And if you have the chance to go to Worlds, it sounds like it's really fun, especially if you get to go somewhere great like Japan or London, or where are some other places that it's been.
It's been all over the place. It's been in America most of the times. Like London was the first time it was outside of North America, and then Japan, obviously. But prior years we had a Boston Worlds, Nashville, Anaheim, San Francisco, Orlando, San Diego, Vancouver, and we're actually going back to a prior Worlds location where I think they had Worlds like 3 different times, which is Hawaii this year. So we presume this summer. The Hawaii is going to be hosting the Pokemon World Championships for the first time in I think over a decade. So it's going to be a lot different because the size of the scene and the player base and the spectators is significantly higher now than it was a decade ago.
Are you going to be there?
That's a great question, Schnabel. I truly do not have an answer to that at this point. I would love to be there. By hook or by crook, I would like to be there somehow, but I truly have no idea. It's going to be quite a while till I know if I'm going or not.
Have you gone to the Hawaii ones before, and how nice is that kind of, if you have?
No, yeah, I haven't. I've never been to Hawaii before. I know they had done Hawaii and Orlando and other places in kind of the infancy of competitive Pokemon World Championships earlier on, when there was much less people. Like I think one of the years there was like 32 players for the video games was what the cap was for the World Championships, right? So obviously it has increased significantly since then. So I've never been to Hawaii. I have at least participated. There were 2 years I didn't go when it was in California, in San Francisco and Anaheim, those back-to-back years. But since 2015, which was Boston, which was my first World Championship I went to and I loved, I have tried to go to every single one and at least participate if I can't go, being in Twitch chat or promoting stuff on social media and being in the conversations and stuff. So if I can't go to Hawaii, I'll still definitely be involved.
Perfect. 2024 Hawaii World Championships. Whether he's there or not, go listen to JB do his thing. So let's get into the Nintendo Direct a little bit, because a new Nintendo Direct just came out and they announced a bunch of things. I want to hear what your favorite things were. I want to tell you what my favorite things were. We can talk a little bit about other stuff too. I think some of them will overlap. I could tell you what my absolute favorite thing is, but I want you to go first because I know it's not going to overlap.
Okay, so the thing that I think I texted you or called you about it when we were talking about setting this up, for me, was the announcement of the new Spy Family game. And it's probably my number one. We don't know what's going to be. It comes out next year. But just from seeing the trailer, people are calling it a day in the life of Anya. And if for anyone who hasn't watched Spy Family, Anya is the daughter of a father who is a James Bond type, trying to save the world, and the mother of an assassin who is trying to kill people and stuff, and neither of them know what their real job is. The dad pretends to be a doctor, and the mom pretends to be a maid going around cleaning places and cleaning buildings. And so Anya it's a comedy. It's really funny. I would recommend it. I told Schnabel to watch it. Everyone should comment to tell Schnabel to watch Spy Family.
I've been told many times to watch this.
So the comedy comes from Anya's characters, this cute little girl with pink hair who is telepathic, and she can read people's minds and know what's going on and stuff. So she knows that her father is lying, and she knows her mother is lying, and she knows that neither of them know that they're lying, and she's not able to say that she knows these things because people don't believe her, and she comes from a foster home, and she gets kicked out of families when they think she's a weird person and stuff. So you have a whole triangle of lying that happens with these 3 characters where none of them can actually be real with each other, and the comedy ensues when they have to they can't blow their cover at any point. They have to pretend to be a spy family. And this game seems like you're just going around with her diary and just there's going to be even more. It's called Spy Anya Operation Memories. Like, you're going to be doing so many tasks, and I imagine like the hilarious moments that'll happen because I'm going to have access to information by being telepathic and knowing things, but I'm a 5-year-old girl and I can't express these things properly to the adults in the show. So I didn't even think the anime would ever have like a video game. So I'm a big fan of the anime. So that's definitely like my number one takeaway from the direct.
Have I ever told you what my number one shower thought, or whatever you want to call it, was? And this reminds me of it.
I can't say you have, Chris.
I always think about this, and I know it's not a thing, but I always think about this. I always think about, what if everyone else is telepathic, but they won't tell me because they know I don't know. I think about it all the time.
Dude, okay, I'm on the same vein with you. What was that Bruce Willis movie where everybody else was robots except for him? It was like the mid 2000s. It came out. I forget what it was. It was like some weird movie.
Know.
And that's my thought. Is like it's like, what if everyone else is a robot except for me? And nobody will tell me because I'm not in on this robot shindig.
Yeah,
going
that's
on,
what I mean.
know?
Like, because if everyone else is telepathic, they could go like, "Hey, don't tell him." Like, he doesn't know. Like, everyone else is. And, yeah, I think about it. This has been something that's been on my mind. Not kidding you, for years, for actual years. I'm like, what if everyone else just can read my mind?
Do you think
I can't read anyone else?
Do you think about this scenario more often, or do you think about the Roman Empire more often? That's the real question.
I never think about the Roman Empire. It's not even near the top of my brain. This is more relevant to me in this current situation than the Roman Empire is.
That's fair.
It was so good.
It's more likely, you know?
Yeah. Well, not anymore. It's already gone. It's been gone for years. This could still be a thing. Exactly. They had their shot. They blew it.
Check every corner. Check over your shoulder.
I don't even have to. They would already know I'm doing it. I can't do anything. About it. So the number one thing that got announced for me, and I knew this wasn't going to be anywhere near your list, but I was a huge, huge, huge fan of Mario versus Donkey Kong back in
Really?
Huge fan of the game. So when I saw Donkey Kong come out with the bag, I knew it was going to be an upgraded, enhanced version of Mario versus. I didn't know if it was going to be a new game or if it's going to be. It looks like it's a. I only watched the thing once, just so everyone knows. So I might be spotty on some stuff. I don't remember if they said it was a remake or it was a new game.
It's a remake.
I think it's a remake though. It looked like it was a remake with like a couple of new features. Like there's co-op mode, which is really cool. And some of the stages are going to be a little different probably. And obviously it's 3D, more, enhanced 3D now and stuff like that. But I was an absolute huge fan of that game. I loved that game. It's one of those games I never wanted to get rid of, but it ended up breaking. It was like one of those games that broke, and then you try to get it again. But it wasn't really a high selling game for Nintendo. So it was very rare to get that game again. So when they announced that, I was pretty hyped. I have a feeling when I told you what mine was going to be, it was going to be like, oh, you're probably going to go right to Thousand Year Door or something like that. But
I swear to God, that is what I thought it was. Because
not that.
Because Schnabel is such a 1,000 Year Door sympathizer. Like, I have known this for so long about you that like I did think that was going to be your number one.
No, I'm happy they did that too. It's going to be fun to play that game again. I do love that game, but no, the Mario versus. Another one I thought was really cool, and they've been doing this a lot now. But F-Zero 99 looked pretty sick. It looked pretty sick. I don't know if I'll play it, but it looked like it was pretty cool. I thought that was. I mean, it's just Mario 99 or Pac-Man 99 or any of the other 99s, but it's nice to see F-Zero getting another shot, because it never gets its fair shot. So it's nice to see that they decided to do F-Zero, but it took them long enough to figure out to do a race battle royale. I mean, come on. You've been doing battle royales for years.
Like, I'm not going to enjoy it, but I'm happy others get to enjoy it.
Yeah, I get it. I won't even watch someone stream it probably, but I'm glad that they thought of F-Zero. That's really all I'm thinking here. I'm not even thinking, oh, this is an awesome game or anything. I was like, oh, I'm glad they thought of, Captain Falcon's been in everyone's mind because of Smash. They couldn't even tell you what he's from because the game hasn't come out in 25 years. Yeah. But like, it's nice that they put him in the back of their mind. F-Zero 99 It's just going to be another one of those. They never should have got rid of Mario 35. They never should have got rid of that game.
You
that
did
game
like
was
that one.
amazing.
Yeah.
I wasn't the only one. If you watch Mario streamers, which I'm a big fan of Mario streamers like Ryu Car and stuff like that, you watch those guys. They played that on stream every single day. The day it came out till the day it closed. It was so much fun. It was a really fun game to play. And I remember when I got my first win. It was actually on stream when I got my first win, believe it or not, which is really cool. And that was a good one. I never really got in. Did you ever do not Pac-Man 99? It was Tetris 99. Did you ever do Tetris 99?
I did Tetris 99 when that first came out because they had like specialty skins for the sides, like for visuals. So they had one for Pokemon Sword and Shield, and they had one for Fire Emblem also, where you can just have like cool visuals on the side as you're playing Tetris. And I was just like awful. I've never been good at Tetris in my life. I had to. I played. What was the one that was? It was another Tetris game that was on like the PS4. It was like super fancy colors and stuff like that. But I had to like have my friend play it to beat it for me, just to finish it because I was so bad. But I watched so many hours of streams of Tetris 99 when it first came out. Like it was a dude. He had like 3,000 people watching him, and there was no mic. And the cam was just his hands of his like controller, right? Going, pressing all the stuff. And let's say I watched that guy for 10 hours, like if he played 100 games in 10 hours, like I think he literally won like 96 of those games or something. Like it was unbelievable how good this guy was at Tetris and how stupid it made me feel by being that bad at Tetris 99.
Honestly, it shouldn't make you feel stupid. You want to know my take on Tetris?
Yeah.
Tetris has one of the top tier songs in video game history. Top tier songs in video game history. There's a lot of composers will go crazy over that. Tetris is great. Love it. If it's a game I could play on a Nokia, it's a game I probably don't want to play anymore on my Switch. That's how I feel about it. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Like I'm not gonna download the Snake game on my Switch. Why am I gonna download Tetris? Like it's a game like it's almost like a Candy Crush. It's like the original Candy Crush, right? You're playing it to it's almost like a pastime game. If I'm gonna play something on my game system, I get people like to be competitive, and some big nerds are really good at Tetris. Now they can beat people and say they're competitive and stuff like that. I get that, but like there are like Breath of the Wild exists.
Why would you play Tetris when Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? I got
Tears of the
for
Kingdom. Yeah, like they exist. Why are we playing Tetris? I don't. That's my take on Tetris. I don't hate it or anything, but like if it's a game you can download on your phone, I don't want to play it. Like I'm not going to waste my time playing it on my Switch. But
so basically, you're saying you can't play Super Mario RPG on a Nokia. Is that what you're saying?
You probably can't play it on Nokia. They're very limited, unless it has square blocks and lines. Then it's you could play Pong on a Nokia. You could play the Snake. The Snake game, by the way.
Snake is undefeated,
game,
bro.
If they had Snake Game 99, I would download Snake Game 99.
I think that'd be number one seller. It's like
it would be number one seller.
It's like Mario Kart 8. You move over number 2 slot. Number 1 Snake 99.
Snake dot eating. I don't remember. Is it just called Snake? I don't even
think
know.
It's just Snake. Yeah,
it's got to be just be Snake. I mean, come on. They didn't have to be creative. They created a masterpiece. They don't have to be creative in the name. Yeah. This isn't triangle strategy. This is Snake.
Speaking of triangle strategy, let me pull it up for you. There is another game that they announced in the direct. Okay, so Triangle Strategy is made by Square Enix, and they're also Super Mario RPG. And so they are known for their ridiculous names: Triangle Strategy, Dial Field Chronicle, Octopath Traveler. They just throw words that are together in 0 words. So this is from Atlas, who makes Persona and other games. They made a new game called Unicorn Overload. It's not about unicorns, Chris. It is a tactical RPG. It's a fantasy RPG like Fire Emblem, and it's called Unicorn Overload.
Do they go into the Wu-Tang name generator and just like find their names through there? They're like Childish Gambino. They just put who's the developer on this? Put your name in the Wu-Tang thing.
I was
Unicorn Overload. Perfect.
I
Throw it
was
on there.
beside myself when I saw it was not a Square Enix title. I was like, no, there's competition now in the ridiculous JRPG names.
You know what the thing is though? If it's a good game, it's a
The
good
game
game.
looked
Like
hype. The game
it doesn't
looked
matter if
good.
it's a good
Yeah.
game. It's a good game. The one thing I really learned from the Nintendo Direct is Nintendo is going all in on remakes. They're going
Yes.
all in on the remakes. We have the Thousand Year Door,
Luigi's Mansion 2.
Luigi's Mansion 2. That's the one I was just going to think of. Luigi's Mansion 2 coming to the Switch is really cool because the only way you could play it was the 3DS. And it's very hard to. I have a 3DS, and I've considered selling it because you can currently sell it for like $800 because they're hard to come across now. So
Oh wow.
I also have the SNES one, which I guess is even harder to come across. What a good investment! I just was in a GameStop one day and they had a used one, and it was like $80, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's cool. I can play some 3DS games. I got home that night and looked it up, and they were like $200. I'm like, oh, like I just got to steal these. They didn't even realize what they were doing. They did not
Yeah.
background check this
You
or anything. But
fools.
anyway, you fools, what are you doing? But anyway, having 3DS games come. There's two things I'm very interested with in Mario versus Donkey Kong too. How much are they going to sell this game for? And what do you get with it? Are you going to get any kind of like, if you get Mario versus Donkey Kong, are you going to get like another iteration of the game later? Is there going to be some sort of new DLC? Are they going to charge $60 for Mario versus Donkey Kong? And then my excitement goes out the window because I'm not paying $60 for a game I paid $20 for 20 years ago. Like,
Right.
so those are kind of the big questions for me is what's going to come with it? Like, will Luigi's Mansion 2 just be a high definition Luigi's Mansion 2, or will there be some sort of DLCs we could do, some other characters we might be able to use, something like that?
Well,
What else will I be getting?
yeah, I think there's two different questions of what should they be charging for these remakes,
That's the
remasters,
big question, by the way. What
and
should they be charging?
what should they is a different question from what will they be charging, because I would definitely not put it past them to have these as 60 or potentially like how Tears of the Kingdom was a $70 game. I think we're getting into that world. Eventually, Nintendo's going to catch up. It takes them a while to catch up to everything in in the world, but they'll eventually get to all their games being $70. And I think that is some of the frustration, especially when you say I paid $20 20 years ago, and now you're going to cost me $70 to play a game I played 20 years ago. Like, they try to justify it's like, well, we built it from the ground up, and it's brand new visuals and brand new everything, and it's like, yeah, but you're relying on me purchasing it because I've played it before, right? Because I like the original version of I want to play it again, Super Mario RPG, the same strategy, Thousand Year Door, the same strategy, right? Like, they know there will be some 10-year-old Timmys out there that have never played the Thousand Year Door because they weren't alive for it. So you'll get their parents to buy it for them, and that's fine. But that's not the core audience for this remake, for this remaster.
No,
It
it's
is the people
like
that
us.
played it 20 years ago and want to relive that feeling again. So Nintendo does have a really bad history of porting games up to the next console generation and really not making them affordable and making them even more expensive. Like they did it with Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. I think it was a $50 game on the Wii U.
Yeah.
And then it was a $60 game on the Switch. And it's like, we added Funky Kong. It's like, well, Funky Kong is not worth $10. So,
You can add him as a DLC character, and you would add him for either $3 to $5, but you're going to add a $10 markup on a game because it comes with it. You don't even have to purchase.
It comes with, it's literally on the ground with Funky Mode, and he's the one that can't die every time he fell. He bounces back up, the easy mode. It's like, so you're charging me for a mode I'm not even going to use because I want the challenge. I'm not using Funky Mode. Give me my $10 back.
It's like going to the store and it's like $5 for this, or you can get it 2 for $15. Like, why would I do?
What a steal.
What a steal. And then you're sitting there like, well, now I can't get to because I'm going to be charged more for it.
I would say, though, Chris, my second most anticipated game is
Splatoon DLC.
Yeah, okay. maybe for you.
I don't even have the new Splatoon.
Oh, okay. I'm proud of
Never
you.
even got
You're
it.
finally learning. It took you a while. Your Splatoon 2 phase lasted for a while.
Yeah, it was entertaining for a little bit.
Yeah. But it was a new League of Legends game actually announced called Bandle Tale. So we already knew about Song of Nunu, which is the other League of Legends game that was in this video. But they announced a new Bandle Tale, which is kind of like I think it was like a farming sim or something. I couldn't really figure. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was. But Bandle City is where all the Yordles in the League of Legends world come from, and they're all these magical and furry and like silly creatures that have fun and colorful lives and things like that. And so I am super excited for that game because it's going to be a lot of just like fun slice of life things with silly characters, and I know that's Lulu from the game, that's Tristana, that's Timo, like just having fun like that. But even in the trailer, there's really funny dialogue. Like there's a character that's a talking sock, right? And so your character walks up and it's like the quotations, it's all like written out. There's no VO for it, and it's like, "You're a talking sock," and then he responds, he's like, "You're a Yordle," and he goes, "See how that feels?" So like, there's a lot of silly humor in the Yordle characters in League of Legends. So that's my number 2 most anticipated game.
But you're a big LOL guy, so that would
Yeah,
make sense. You stream a lot of not LOL. You do
I do commentary every Wednesday night for Titan
every
Esports.
Wednesday night.
Yeah.
There you go. Is that on your channel or on their channel?
No, that's on Titan Esports with a Z. Twitch.tv
Titan Esports with a Z. Every Wednesday. Go check it out, and you can watch him do LOL. Two other I would say bigger names of this was the Tomb Raider 1 through 3 was a big, those again are remakes, and the Princess Peach game would be the other one.
Dude,
and
that looks so good.
It looks really good. It looks really, really good. Princess Peach Showtime, I believe it was, because it's going to be all in a theater and all this other stuff. It looks really good. It looks really entertaining. I just by watching all the different Peaches you can become and stuff like that, all the jobs or characters she could take over, and how it gives you the different powers. It's cool. It's very interesting.
What it reminded me of is Super Mario Odyssey, where every world you go to, Peach is in a different outfit. She's at the beach. Yeah. She's got a beach outfit. She's at the Black Moon. She has like the big the black dress on, the hat, and everything, and all the different worlds. She's in the desert. She's got a desert related outfit on, and so I feel like they took that because I don't know if you remember, there was a lot of positive feedback when Odyssey came out, and a lot of fan art made of all the different outfits that Peach was in, because they were really stylish and fun and colorful and stuff, and different. And different, right, than just the princess dress. So I think like they kind of took that idea and put it into a game, and like, well, when Mario changes his outfit, his power-ups are different, right? So if Peach turns into like a fencer and is like fighting people, like her power-ups are different compared to a different outfit. And I think that's really fun. I like, I like different. I don't know if it's technically a platformer or not. I think it's at least 2D, so it's in the realm. And Nintendo does inherently do a pretty good job with those. And I just feel like at the end of the day, also, like, is it a crime for me to want to see Peach in cute outfits doing fun little different superpowers? Like, no, I think it's going to be a fun little fashion game, and she's looking cute, living her best life, saving the play. There's a lot on the line here. She has to save the performance.
And no better time than after the Mario movie to make a Princess Peach movie either. Like this is a cash in for them. This is an easy cash in for them. And yeah, it does look entertaining. And I said Cappy because you get the hair tie or whatever that helps you change. So like it's basically Cappy. When it comes to Mario Odyssey, this is just a question that's completely off topic of that.
Sure.
Would you rather see a brand new, I know we're getting Mario Wonder, but that's kind of more of the new soup kind of thing.
That's the 2D world. Yeah.
2D world. So would you rather see a just brand new Super Mario blank where he's in a completely different world, completely different situation, or do you want to see an Odyssey 2?
That's a good question. Wow, that's why they pay you big bucks, Chris.
Oh yeah.
So I think for me, I think some of the most fun in gaming in general I had was collecting every single star or moon, excuse me,
Mhm.
in Super Mario Odyssey. So like selfishly, I would love a Super Mario 2 or Odyssey 2 where we get another thousand moons and all these things. And I think there is definitely more untapped potential with the Cappy system than what we just got in Odyssey. So like if I was a betting man, I would bet towards us getting a Super Mario Odyssey 2 before they reinvent the wheel all over again.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you had Galaxy had 1 and 2, and then obviously the original Mario 1, 2, and 3, and they. It's not like one of those things where they're not usually doing sequels. It's not like when Toy Story 2 came out and everybody was like, "What?" Like
Yeah.
they've done sequels for a long time. Yeah, I think the same thing. Obviously the story would have to be pretty similar, but it's not like the story ever changes anyway. I mean, I just replayed Sunshine the other day, and guess what Bowser was trying to do? Marry Peach. So it's not like it ever changes. Um,
How dare you, Mario?
how dare you?
With the really bad voiceover.
I
Ruin
I
this family gathering.
I
So
will say
good.
I'm a big fan of Mario Sunshine, but it's almost strictly for nostalgic reasons. Like the
Sunshine's my
GameCube.
favorite of all the 3D Marios. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, same. But if you're talking about like the actual like levels and gameplay and stuff like that. I don't know if it would be toward the top. I do love like the designs of the levels and stuff, but when 40% of your levels are red coins or Shadow Mario, like the secret levels,
Yeah.
like I love the creativity. Like Odyssey, like there's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of easy moons you can find, but there's also a lot of creativity in a lot
Yeah,
of those.
but
But
all of
obviously,
those
a 20 years
stars,
difference.
all of those like
Shine sprites,
the all shine get in
yeah,
Japanese or whatever with the
yeah,
speed runs. But what's so fascinating to me with Sunshine is everything's about the hose and like all the water
yeah.
related things, and the most memorable and the most difficult and enjoyable shines to get are the ones where you don't have your hose and you have to
Yeah, the
do
secret
it.
levels.
Yeah, like those to this day are still really hard for
Yeah.
some of them are to try to complete. And I always think that like if Super Mario Sunshine came out today, like Odyssey was obviously super easy. If Sunshine never existed and it came out today, it would be infinitely easier than the GameCube iteration is. And I think a lot of people's minds would kind of change on that because I think a lot of people didn't actually finish Sunshine when we were kids because it was pretty hard for our like 8-year-old minds to actually beat compared to
Well,
an 8-year-old playing Odyssey today.
a lot of people now. I like I just said, like just because of what I just said, Sunshine is also my favorite of all of them. And it has a lot to do with nostalgia. Nostalgia. It was the first 3D. Like I played Mario 64, but when I played it, I was like 6. Like
Yeah,
the first time I really have a memory is sitting down, turning on the GameCube, and play. I still own the original Mario Sunshine game because I could never get rid of it. Like that's how much I loved that game. But I think a lot of people, another thing going off of what you said, like a lot of people say like there's not enough secrets in Sunshine. I don't think people completed it either because there's 120 shines, but you
yeah,
only need 60 to complete the game. So there's 60 more shines you get
that's
to
what I'm
find,
saying. Yeah,
like in different ways in different places. Like there's the collecting of 100 coins. No one even thinks about collecting 100. If you really think about it, like I didn't think about it. I was playing, I wanted to run through it, and then I was going to get the other ones after. This is when I was sick a couple weeks ago. So I was just going to run through the game and then go back to the 100 coins, do the birds, do all that stuff. And I didn't realize until I was playing, I was like, you don't realize you don't come close to 50 coins when
yep,
you're just playing. Like if you have to actually go out and search for coins, it's sometimes a struggle to even get to 100. You'll get to like 92 and you'll be like, where am I going to find
yeah.
8
Where's a
more
Goomba?
coins?
Yeah,
Yeah, where's anything? Where's something I can stomp on? Like, where's anything? So it's not like Odyssey. Odyssey, there's like levels you go into, and it's just like the coin train in Mario 3D World or something like that. Like,
yeah.
there's a lot. You don't realize how little coins you get, and I agree with you. I don't think people finished it because they would get to 60 and be like, wow, that wasn't as bad as I thought it'd be. It's like, well, you're only halfway done. Like, you're not even close to actually finishing this game yet. Like, you still have 60 shines you have to go find, and some of them aren't right in front of you. Some of them you have to actually go out and find. So
I also think, like, just for me, this is the ultimate subjective opinion ever, but I personally enjoy the Sunshine speed run the most out of the 3D Marios. And, like, obviously I watch, the Games Done Quick marathons and a lot of other speedrunners, like, on Twitch. And I've watched a lot. I did the speedrun for Odyssey for a bit. I've watched a lot of 64, watched the different Galaxy streamers and too, but, like, to me, there is just something about Sunshine, like, as a speedrunning game, as a casual game, as a nostalgic area for me as well. There's just something that just won't beat Sunshine in my head.
And you talk about the different ways Mario, like different power ups and stuff. Nothing's a better get up than Mario wearing the shades and the Shine Sprite shirt. Like, you want to beat Bowser first before you finish the other 60, so you can finish the other 60 in the Hawaiian shirt and shades, because you can't do it until you beat Bowser. So you want to beat him.
Sunshine gave us the Delfino people. What would Mario Sluggers have been without?
I was about to say, what would Mario Sluggers be without those guys? Like, he wouldn't even have a team. You wouldn't be able to field a team. You wouldn't have a stadium. Nothing. It would be impossible for him to do anything. By the way, since I haven't really gotten to talk to you about it, man, I talked about it on the pod. One of my biggest disappointments of the year was the spring Nintendo Direct, and no baseball announced. No Mario baseball announced. Yes. Huge surprise.
Yeah, that was definitely a bummer. Definitely a world where, like, Chris and I had become conditioned to every June they release a Mario sports game on the Switch, because that's kind of what they did, right? And then the one game that was left, obviously our favorite sport, they had not made, and who knows what's going to happen? That was definitely a huge. You ready for this? That was a huge curveball.
Hey, I see what you did. You sent me a TikTok of Petey Piranha hitting a walk-off home run recently, and I replied to it, but he never replied back. What a bad pitch to Petey Piranha.
It was a bad pitch selection.
He's a locational guy. Like, if you throw it straight, he's going to hit it 500 feet. You have to have break on it because he has a very small hitting window. To throw a change up there,
I was gonna respond to you, and I was gonna say your Princess Peach pitcher would never, but I couldn't remember if you mained Peach or Donkey Kong when you were streaming.
Peach.
So I knew she was in there.
Actually, no, you're right, because when I did the stream,
because Donkey Kong was Roger Clemens out there.
He was pitching no hitters. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I usually do Peach though. I usually am a Peach stand pitcher, but I did have Donkey Kong in that. I did the hard, whatever the hardest mode was, run, and he was throwing absolute gas.
It was crazy.
No hitters. He has no break. He has no break to his fastball, but it's just gassing by everybody. No one can seem to hit Donkey Kong. I don't know if it was a glitch or whatever, but yeah, I was surprised. Also, at the time, I mean, not really as much this year, but like last couple of years, especially during COVID, the online Mario Sluggers.
I was going to ask you about their esports. Have you delved into that world? Because you were pretty good. Like, you could get into it.
I watched it a little bit during COVID. Obviously, we were all looking for things to do. I didn't really get into it, like playing it online. First of all, I'd have to figure out how to do it. Like, I'm just not.
It's not too hard.
I'm sure it's not too hard, but like I'd have to figure out how to do it, and I didn't do that. But I did watch it a little bit. It piqued my interest, but I never continued on. I always loved playing the season mode. Like, the season mode was always my favorite. I wish they had like an actual season mode. That would be amazing for me. Like, just play an actual full season against these guys. I actually had an idea.
A full 162 against Diddy Kong.
A full 162 against Donkey Kong and Bowser and them. I actually did have an idea I wanted to do, but you can't do it. There's a lot of videos that have been popping up for me of what is it called? Like the game of Risk. What are they? Those the imperialisms, where they try to, like, this team beats this team, then they do it with two. I see videos about it with 2K pop up all the time.
I see it with Madden.
And Madden's the other one. So I was like, no, it'd be sick to do a Mario baseball imperialism, but you can't have a computer versus a computer. So you have to user one of them, and I would probably
Uh,
win those games, I would imagine. So like it would be very unfair. You know what I mean? Like whatever team I was would most likely win each game, and then that would just be the winner, and it'd be very boring. But I did think about doing it. I set it all up. I turned on the game, and I got into it, and then I realized you can't do it, and I was very disappointed. I actually started the stream, and then I realized you can't do it. I got very
that's
disappointed.
brutal. That's
Yeah,
brutal.
yeah. I should have tested it first, but it's all good.
I
But
mean, I guess you could have had another friend come over and you guys play one of each team, and you know what I mean. But
yeah,
bro,
there's ways we could have done it, but it wasn't
never
worth figuring it
never
out.
forget Lou Toadsworth Gehrig, your first baseman.
Yeah,
That old dude was like his slugging, his like he was at least slugging like 800. He
we
had
that,
like a
that
he
would
had
have
like
been
a
amazing.
700 on base percentage. It was
That would
crazy.
have been that would have been amazing. By the way, if we kept the stats, just
Yeah.
go back and have the stats. If anybody's wondering, I
He
did
was an
a
instant on
he was
base.
he was on
Remember
base
every
machine. He
single
was
at
on
bat.
base
Yeah.
machine. I did a Mario Sluggers run, the GameCube version, by the way, not the Super Sluggers. But the Super Sluggers is also a very good game. I do enjoy it. But anyway, I did the original one on Leaf Bracer, which is
Mm-hmm.
Joe's channel, where I did a couple of straight videos. They were basically, I don't remember what do you call it when you record it and then you stream it, and then
Like a VOD.
a VOD,
Yeah.
video on demand of that, of those streams. So if you want to do the Leaf Bracer, we'll put it up in here in the corner somewhere, and you can go see that. But I did do I was on the hardest difficulty. Who did I
It was
start
really
with?
impressive.
Do we remember who I started with? Was it
No,
Donkey Kong?
was Donkey
Maybe
Kong?
it was probably
Was it?
Mario. It's probably Mario, to be honest with you,
Yeah, I
or
can't remember.
Peach. It had to be Mario or Peach. It may have been Peach because I used to pitch with Peach all the time, so I may have just wanted to start.
There's just
with her,
so
but
much potential for a new Sluggers game, bro. Like,
so much. But you know what the worst part is? If they do a new Sluggers, they're not gonna take on that potential.
yeah,
They're not going to take on the potential. They're going to put out a new Sluggers. It's going to be bare bones, and you're going to be able to pick from 5 characters.
yeah.
And then 2
Here's
years later, they'll put out
85
a
color
DLC.
variations of Toads. That's your whole
Yeah,
team.
yeah. They're gonna down. I mean, if you look at Strikers, they literally had less characters in Strikers, the new one, than they did in the last one they did before it. They had more characters in an older game. They're basically what the sports game's doing, what Madden does. What Madden
Taking
did
content
at
out.
one
And, yeah,
at one point, Madden had a ton of stuff, and then they took it all out. And each year they add one more thing back. Like, whoa, we added Superstar mode where you could do the draft combine. I was like, I was able to do that in 2005.
yeah.
Like, I don't like. What do you mean I could do that? Like, I was able to do that. I was able to do that 15 years ago. Like, why don't you just leave it in and add actual new things?
Speaking of 15 years ago with Double Dash, which is probably more than 15 years ago at this point,
Yeah, it's early 2000s. I still own that one too.
Look who just got added to Mario Kart 8, Diddy Kong, in the final DLC. The Mario Kart 8 has been out for a decade at this point, and you finally, in the final wave of the final DLC 10 years later, you finally add Diddy Kong to Mario Kart? Come on, man.
It's sometimes I love
so
Nintendo
long.
products. I love Nintendo, but sometimes it just seems like they are so out of touch. They just have no idea what's going on.
They got Pauline in there, though. They learned. Lesson learned.
They did. Yeah, but Double Dash is my favorite Mario Kart game as well. I still own my original Double Dash game for GameCube because I loved that game. I thought the turning in that game was so good. It was so, if you can get it, it was not hard to get, and it worked so well. I really do love me some Double Dash. Maybe I'll have to go play some a little bit when I get to my new place and everything. This is the last podcast I'm recording, by the way, in Hartford, Connecticut, which is crazy to think about. Last one.
Wow.
And then you can listen to my last podcast. Then tomorrow you can listen to the OHKO podcast because we come out tomorrow.
Hey, you know what, Chris? We'll always have Hartford.
We will. We had that great, and if you want to see what happened in Hartford, you can actually see we had a short video come out. Schnabel Studios on YouTube. We have a short video that came out where I went through and kind of talked about everything that went on, showed videos and stuff like that. So you can go see that if you want to know more about what happened there. Man, we just have everything covered. But I don't really have much more in the Nintendo Direct. I don't know about you. A lot of it
No, I mean, let
was.
me look. I think obviously I'm excited for the new Detective Pikachu game next
Yeah,
month.
yeah, yeah.
Obviously, the first
But
one was great. The movie
that's
was
already been
great.
announced for a while.
Yeah. Super Mario RPG, like they announced that before, but we saw even more information. That's a lot of people. Like that's essentially baby's first RPG for many people of our generation, like including myself. I'm fairly certain that that was the first RPG I had ever played in my life as like a 5, 6, 7 year old. Whenever I was playing that, so I think that's going to be a huge hit for a lot of people. But I mean, besides that, I'm not a big Splatoon fan or anything.
I didn't
So
really even understand what their DLC was all about. The
yeah, it's like
Splatoon one,
it's like a single player DLC and.
which
Um,
no one does
you know,
anyway.
the only one I would mention that looked cool to me was called Another Code Recollection, which was like kind of a story based game. It was two games. The sequel had never been released in America before, so this remake actually is new content for the North American audience because they never got to play the. It's not like Mario versus Donkey Kong because they never got to play the second game in
Yeah,
there. So
I do remember that.
for anyone who likes story games and your decisions matter style of games, or you get really drawn into the story and it's much more about the narrative than it is about the gameplay, I would check out Another Code Recollection when that comes out next January.
And then at the very end, they said, we're doing all remakes because none of this matters anyway, because Spider-Man comes out in 2 months. So no
Yeah,
one's going to play our games anyway. That's probably
exactly.
why they did a bunch of remakes, because there's
And
that and there's
because they're
something
working
else.
on, we all know that they're like quietly, not quietly, secretly, not so secretly working on the next Nintendo Switch console, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
has to come eventually. So you want to save some of those heavy hitters like a Mario Odyssey 2 or something like that for the
I
Switch 2.
figured Mario Odyssey 2 or the next big 3D Mario game is waiting for the
I think
new
it's done.
console.
I literally
I think
think
it
like
is too.
Miyamoto like chopped up like, okay, ready to hit paste the moment we announce
That's
the Switch 2.
That's absolutely what I think too. I think whenever the new console's coming out, it's like when the first one came with Breath of the Wild, and I think
Yep.
it came with Odyssey. No, Odyssey came out a year later, I think, but it came with that's gonna be the game it comes with, is whatever the new Mario is. And I so much think that because they even the new Switches, they have the new Mario Switch, like
Yep.
you can get the Mario, so they're preparing for it. Yeah, quietly, not so quietly. Everybody kind of knows it's going on. Plus, they have the Mario movie too, Yoshi's Revenge, coming out, and they have the other rumors, the Legend of Zelda movie that they're making
Oh, that
now,
would
and
be
then
so sick.
they're making the Nintendo verse. If you listen to an old episode of Sketching Up, actually before the Mario movie came out, Matt's prediction of you make all these movies and then you make the Avengers Endgame be Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Yeah.
It would be
The
insane.
Smash Ultimate Cinematic Universe or whatever.
Yeah.
The SCU. Yeah, Smash Cinematic Universe.
SCU.
Because you have Sonic the
SCU.
Hedgehog, Detective
Yep.
Pikachu, right?
Yep.
Mario.
Link, all the characters. We just need a Kirby movie. That's what we're waiting for. Kirby could already be in it because there's a ton of animated cartoons from Japan.
I was gonna say Kirby could work
so.
as an animated movie because the show was like really fun as a kid
Yeah.
watching it. So.
What was it? It was Kirby Superstars or something like that, right? I don't know. Anyway, before
You're the
we
Kirby
ramble
guy,
on,
not me.
I do enjoy me some Kirby. Before we ramble on, there's been another episode of Sketching Up. Joe, where can people find you? Where can people find your podcast? Where can people find you streaming as well?
Okay, I'm glad you didn't ask where they can find me where I live. I'm glad you stopped question prior.
The next question wasn't going to be where you live. I would never do something like that. It's going to be what's your social, but at least the last four. At least the last four.
All right, I'll just toss the last four your way real quick.
Toss us the last four, but put it out of order. If you can figure it out, you get it. Actually, no, give the whole thing like that. If you can figure it out, you deserve it.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can find me on social medias at Zemanon. That's XEMINAN. That's my gamer tag. To find me on Twitter and Instagram and everything like that. And then if you thanks for having me on, Chris. And if you are interested in hearing my good friend Sierra and I talk about Pokemon and competitive Pokemon VGC and everything like that. Our weekly podcast, the OHKO podcast, is uploaded to YouTube and Spotify and all the places you listen to your podcasts every Thursday at noon. It's a weekly podcast, and we're having a lot of fun doing it.
And we will link it in the description, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, wherever. Go to the description of this, check it out, click it. It'll bring you to that, so you can go listen to that. You can find us at Schnabel Studios on anywhere you get social media, anywhere you get your podcast. You'll find all of the Schnabel Studios podcasts. Just look up Schnabel Studios. They will all pop up. Or you can search Sketching Up. You can find all the Sketching Up stuff there. You can also find us on YouTube. That's where we have a lot of clips. We have old podcasts, old videos, things like that. Make sure you check out Mad Props. We just had Jordan Robles on. He is one of the best wiffle ball players in the world. He's also a friend of mine. I grew up playing baseball with him. Definitely go check that out. The new episode just came out last week. And coming up next week will be a new episode of Southern Hospitality. Search Schnabel Studios. You'll find all this stuff. And that's how you can get all of these episodes. Joe, thank you again for joining us. Episode 96 of Sketching Up is over. We have 3 episodes left till we get to the century mark of 100. Stick with us. We'll see you next week. See you later. This was Sketching Up.